Proving that government regulation can actually be a good thing, my home state of Maine has passed the strongest anti-facial recognition regulation in the entire United States. Let's talk about this. Except in a few rather reasonable circumstances, facial recognition use by government officials is banned as of October 1st, 2021. That is amazing to me. The broadest exceptions for this ban are the use of proactive fraud prevention, which is a little bit broad. There's also a somewhat reasonable provision in here that allows law enforcement to use facial recognition software on a photograph when an unidentified person in that photograph has probable cause of being suspected for committing a crime. However, probable cause here is a little bit confusing because it doesn't seem, as far as I'm aware, that there needs to be a warrant in order to get the photograph analyzed by facial recognition software. That's one of the few quibbles that I actually have with this legislation. But with that said, also it's important to note that the results of a facial recognition search do not constitute grounds for arrest or for search or seizure, which is very important here. Notably, law enforcement itself will not be able to access any facial recognition technology whatsoever. That's an important provision here. That's really good, in my opinion. Basically, what that means is that if law enforcement suspects an unidentified person in a photograph to have committed a serious crime, then they have to ask the FBI or the Maine Bureau of Motor Vehicles in order to run a search against a photograph. That's a good thing. But it also closes a few loopholes that had been exploited by law enforcement in the past. For example, asking other government agencies or third-party companies to run clandestine searches for them. That was something that was allowed, or it was at least not illegal back then, but now is punishable by fines and even termination of government officials. But now all facial recognition searches carried out by the Bureau of Motor Vehicles actually has to be logged, and those logs are a matter of public record. That's a good thing. I don't think there's anyone in the world who can argue that government transparency is a bad thing. This is good for everyone. Now, other states have actually implemented their own facial recognition software bans, but none of them are as sweeping or as celebrated as Maine's new law. Joe Goyen, who is currently a Microsoft employee, penned a bill which banned most uses of facial recognition tech, but which gave police far too much runway for abuse, and it also allowed state services to abuse the tech to deny access to education enrollment or even public housing. And Virginia and Massachusetts legislatures have passed similar laws, but they failed to regulate the use within state agencies and public schools. There seemed to be a trend here, and I'm so happy that Maine bucked that trend. Quote, Maine is showing the rest of the country what it looks like when we, the people, are in control of our civil rights and civil liberties, not the tech companies that stand to profit from widespread government use of facial surveillance technology. Michael Cabady, Maine's ACLU counsel. This is great. This law also allows for Maine residents, Maine citizens, to sue the government when they have been wrongly subjected to facial recognition searches. It also makes wrongful usage of facial recognition searches inadmissible in court. Now, personally, I think under no circumstance should any facial recognition software be counted for any measure of evidence. And if you look at the law, it actually says, quote, facial surveillance data does not, without other evidence, establish probable cause justifying arrest, search, or seizure. However, there should be more on this subject. I think the use of facial recognition software should only be allowed to point law enforcement in the correct direction. It should never be allowed in court as evidence or even an inference of guilt. Facial recognition software it's not DNA evidence, which I have my own qualms with. And all of this facial recognition and object recognition and machine learning can be fooled with strategically placed pixels inside the photograph that's being analyzed. So none of this should be anything other than pointing law enforcement in the right direction. If they happen to have surveillance footage and they happen to have probable cause that one of the people in there committed the crime, being able to say, that's this guy, go investigate that guy. But it should never be admissible in court as evidence of any kind whatsoever. But do you know what the best thing about all of this is? is that this law passed both bodies of the state legislature with unanimous consent. That means that the governor didn't have to sign this bill. That means that when adults sit down and talk about real issues, they can get things done. Real issues can transcend politics if we can just put petty ideology aside. And this gives me hope for the future. It really does. I'm so proud of my state for doing the right thing here. Passing common sense legislation that seems poised to curb abusive, discriminatory, and unethical surveillance technology. And I hope that the old adage, as Maine goes, so goes the nation, holds true on this front as well. Now we just need to ban this tech in advertising and in private surveillance, and we're on the right path. I want to thank Nima Panahi and the rest of the people over on Patreon who make what I do here possible. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do this, so thanks guys, I really appreciate it. If you believe in the work that I do and you want to help support this show, just like these folks do, make sure you head over to Patreon or become a YouTube member. It all helps. That's going to do it for now though. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now, and have a blessed day.